There is a perception that if we are living in the past, we're regretting. If we live in the future, we're often anxious, right? Anxiety is the future, regret is the past. Right now is the only thing we actually have.
Hi, it's Rob Brown here, doing another international interview with some of the speakers and experts and influencers involved in RightNOW 2025. I'm host of the Accounting Influencers podcast. I spend my life interviewing people that have something to say to the accounting profession to keep them influential and relevant. We've got two amazing guests with us today that are an integral part of the speaker lineup at RightNOW 2025. We've got John Mitchell and Shannon Hay. They're going to introduce themselves in just a moment. But a heads up for you, if you are not already booked into RightNOW 2025, this is one of the events for CPAs, bookkeepers, accounting professionals of the year. Not just because it is an event, but this is going to be a year-round experience. We're creating a community here that is compelling with wonderful content and people like you inside it that are making a difference, running their own firms, sailing their own ships, or maybe even employed somewhere. But you want to move the dial and you want to be a better you. So RightNOW is all about that. Make sure you tune into some of the speed networking sessions. We're going to run these before and after the event to give you in the community an opportunity to meet one another and some of the special guests that are involved. So let's kick off with these two wonderful guests. John Mitchell, you've been in this game some time. Tell us a bit about you and your world.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest. My world is much different than a lot of people inside accounting. My background is, believe it or not, in preaching. So when I came to accounting, I came about 10 years ago as a creative director at Rightworks, which was an organization started by Darren Root. He brought me on to bring inspiration to accountants. The mission of Rightworks at that time was to build a firm that supports your life instead of consumes it. And my job was to bring inspiration. And so in the process, I fell in love with accountants, accounting firms, with especially team members. So my number one job in the profession, I am now co-founder of Better Every Day, which Darren Root and I started together. And now our job is just to bring inspiration and empowerment to accounting firms who are trying to build a firm that supports life. And my role inside of RightNOW, inside of the Rightworks community, is to be a little. I used to use the phrase "shot in the arm," but I quit using that after the pandemic. But a little bit of an infusion of energy, maybe a little bit of life perspective to bring alongside your business model, alongside your technology efforts. And so that's my main goal. At RightNOW, I will be emceeing the event, as well as doing a breakout session called "Great Job," which is
hold
about
that thought,
creating
John,
a great
because
place to work.
You're answering about 10 questions I'm about to ask you about what you're
Sorry, I got way ahead of you, Rob.
That's okay. I know you're a preacher, so you want to preach it. You've got a pulpit, and
you have to shut me up.
You're good to go, but we'll come back to that. Shannon, tell us a bit about you and the world you work in.
Yeah, well, I'm an acquisition finance specialist. I work for a bank. I'm a banker. I'm a senior vice president at United Midwest Savings Bank, and I've funded over 400 accounting firm acquisitions in my career. So I see a lot of movement in the M&A market, have a pulse on, multiples and structures and values and how firms are trading nowadays. So,
but very succinct. And I'm just thinking how muddy the waters are right now, Shannon, with what private equity and the whole consolidation and M&A space is doing. Goodness, if there was ever a time when we needed a beacon or a shining light to tell us exactly what's happening in this space, it would be you. So we'll come back to that. John, you mentioned you give inspiration. Do you get a sense that accountants need inspiration right now? Are they beleaguered? Are they weary? Are they overburdened? What's your sense of the vibe in the community?
Well, I think they always have, much like every one of us needs a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of moment of perspective. I love the word inspire. It means breathe life into. And I don't think there's anybody in any vertical in any place in the world who doesn't need a little life breathed into them at some point. But I do think we are in a time where you used the word muddy already. And I think that's a really good description. The question is, what do we do with this mud? What do we do with this lack of clarity, and how do we cut through it? My wife is works in an accounting firm, and it is tax season-y in our house right now. And so not only with the season being what it is, and coming out into right now, out of a tax season that has really never been like it is this year. We need more than ever this moment of, I think it's clarity as much as anything that people need, a path forward and some optimism along the way.
And Shannon, tell us about how you got involved with RightNow, because from a banking world and an M&A world, those paths might cross a little bit, but you're one of the key speakers there. You've got something to say. How did that relationship start?
Well, certainly. So as a banker that finances only accounting firms all day, every day, I'm very entwined in the accounting community, not only with the broker world, but also in the legal side of the equation, because obviously any M&A transaction involves attorneys. So myself, Sarah Sharp, and Todd Steinberg, who is an intermediary, will all be hosting a panel, basically a broker, a banker, and an attorney, right? And you can ask questions about what we see in transactions and how things are trading in the space. I like to educate, because I think that there's been a changing shift with private equity coming into the market of how firms trade and what the cash value is, what the equity value is of them. And so it's important that sellers and buyers both understand the variables on both sides of that equation.
We got a chance to spend some time with Sarah Sharp recently on one of these interviews to get a sense of what she's talking about. So yeah, she's really excited about it. How fluid is this space, Shannon, when it comes to the disruption happening with buying and selling? Because I get a sense that a lot of people watching this, maybe smaller firms, they don't feel like they're in that space. They don't feel like they're in that conversation. It seems to be happening in the bigger firms and the bigger PE pots and the bigger consolidators. Why is it relevant for the Right Now audience?
Well, it's relevant for any, I would say any firm in the 0 to 5 million range is still being targeted in a consolidation mindset, meaning that you have more firms of the $1 million or less that are going to become a part of. It's just a force because of the lack of talent that exists in the U.S. now, and the more outsourcing, technology-driven solutions. Consolidations of the smaller firms is really the future of accounting. I mean, that's just the direction we're going. We understand that. And so I'm a multi-acquisition specialist. Sarah and Todd both work with multi-buyers all the time. And it's just also the efficiency that occurs through consolidation. So I just say posture yourself in a way that makes you moldable with other firms, because it traditionally that's the way it's going to go.
Yeah. John, you hinted at how you got involved with Rightworks back in the day, but you said you moved from a preacher role and a minister role into technology and accounting. So really, how did that come about? That's quite a leap.
It is a leap. There's a lot I left out in there that allowed that transition to be a little more smoother than it might have sounded. But I haven't preached for some time. But the idea of Rootworks originally, and now Rightworks, is to help people get from wherever they are to wherever they want to be. Right. And I believed that was always my job in preaching, was to help people get the clarity to figure out where they are, to make a goal for where they want to be, and fill the gaps. And so my role now is very much the same as it was then. How can we analyze where we're at as a firm? How can we see what kind of baggage, personally, baggage comes from parenting and history, and the same thing happens in firms. We bring all this baggage to every conversation, every piece of technology we decide to implement, every staff member we hire, to be able to be self-aware of the baggage that we bring, and then set a goal that allows us to realistically reach that as a team. And that's really what my role is at this point. So it's not too far from preaching the way I see it.
Yeah, got it. Shannon, you go to a lot of events, I'm sure, whether you're speaking or you're just in the audience soaking things up. But what makes an event for accountants?
Oh goodness. It's not only, the content. Obviously there's so much to be found in the content, the continuing education, but I think that networking with like-minded, firm owners, wherever you might be in your firm, is finding individuals that are in similar roles to you. And then using that to gain knowledge and insights on how other people are doing things in a similar role. So yeah, I think networking is a huge part of it. Yeah.
It's a good point, John, isn't it? It's not just what happens on the stage. It's those conversations that happen off the stage. You've been with Right Now a while now. What makes the Right Now event special as a standout on the calendar?
For me, Shannon hit it. It is about people. And I think the truth is we can all get content just about anywhere we want to right now.
Yeah.
So
not all of it's good. But
not all of it's, in fact, most of it's not. So part of what makes Right Now so powerful is that I feel like we have this group of people who are our liaisons, who are saying, let's curate this content. Let's not just grab whatever GTP just pushed out or whatever article just came out, but let's curate this to be focused on firms that want to move forward, on modern firms that are implementing new pieces of software, and on the implications of that. So beyond the people, which to me, if I'm going to go physically to Nashville, it better be about humans interacting with humans, because otherwise I'll just go virtually. And it is first and foremost about that. But I think the other layer is this curation of content that quiets the noise that comes into my inbox, that comes into my social media feeds, and really is just kind of permeating the entire profession. This brings clarity to some of that noise.
That's such a good point. And when you were speaking, the phrase came up in my head, the one true voice or the true north, because there is so much hype, so much myth, so much bull, so much noise, so much mud out there. And you're just looking for what's real, what's really right, what's true, and bust some myths and right some wrongs. And you guys are very declarative in the way you speak. So, Shannon, what's going to be your session? What are you actually doing right now?
So, yeah, as I said, I'm hosting a panel with Todd Steinberg and Sarah Sharp, and it's just going to be on common themes that are occurring in M&A transactions. Todd is a broker, Sarah is a lawyer that only represents accounting firms, and I'm a banker that only finances the acquisition of accounting firms.
So you've got all the deal makers around the table, right?
Yeah. So it should be a great session. Really looking forward to it. We collaborate really well together, especially in a question and answer scenario, because you get different angles.
Why should people attend that, Shannon? What will they get from it?
Well, listen, whether you're starting your firm today or you're on the sunset of your firm, you should always be thinking about succession in the current day market and preparing your firm future forward for what it needs to look like to be competitive in this market. So,
John, you're emceeing the event, so you've got that anchor role and gauging the energy of the audience and setting the tone for everything and introducing things. So how excited are you about that role?
I'm so excited. I'm Gary Vaynerchuk is one of my heroes. I'm going to get a chance to meet him and introduce him, which is quite of a dream for mine. The truth is my big passion in life is just human relationships. So you'll see me running around all over Rightworks, the Right Now conference, between being on the stage, interviewing people. I am moderating a couple panels that'll be on the keynote stage. I am doing a breakout called Great Job, which is about creating great places to work. When I first started in this profession, the number one pain point in firms was staffing and hiring. Now we're 15 years later. Guess what the number one pain point in firms is? Staffing and hiring. It's just changed. It's the same pain point with a whole different lens. And so I'll be addressing that. And then where you'll see me most at Right Now is in the hallways. I will be high-fiving. These are people that I have known and loved for a good portion of my life. I'll be looking for new high fives, but I'll be having a whole lot of old ones too.
And I'm guessing both of you will be not just on the stage or having some conversations, but you'll be there in the audience with your notebooks and your iPad. You'll be taking notes. You'll be learning because, Shannon, what got you here won't got you there, right? There's going to be lots you can take on.
Yeah, well, Rob, we're exhibiting, so we'll have a booth there on the trade show floor, and you can come visit us after and ask questions outside of the sessions.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to look at the agenda, Shannon? Are there any particular sessions apart from seeing the infamous Gary Vaynerchuk, who's obviously a legend?
I can't get past the Gary V variable, right? I mean,
I know.
I'm a New York Jets fan, and he is a huge New York Jets fan as well. He says he's going to buy the Jets someday. So if I get any moment of conversation with Gary V about helping him buy the Jets, because we definitely need a new owner, change of culture, per se, I'll definitely be having that conversation. So
Yeah, well, he's been on the record with that a long time, and I wouldn't put it past him to get that deal done. So, what about you, John? What's the standout elements that you'll be looking for right now when you're not doing your bits?
Well, to be honest, Shannon's session I will be at, and I will be paying close attention to. At Better Every Day, we have a very narrow focus. And so often, I would say as often as I'm giving advice, I am connecting humans to other people who have better advice than I would have. So the word "I don't know" comes out of my mouth as much as anything. But I hate to not be able to follow it with, "Have you met my friend Shannon?" So for me, the networking, yes, it's about accountants, but it's also about meeting good people who see the world in a lot of ways the way I see it, that I can draw people to when I don't know the answer, which is more and more than it used to be.
Yeah. John, what advice would you give to people who've already booked their ticket, they're registered to go to Nashville? It's going to be an overwhelming sensory experience. There's going to be so much going on there, a lot of energy, a lot of buzz, excitement, a lot of content. What advice would you give to them to make the most out of that and not just be a whirlwind of activity and then they go back to business as usual in the next few days?
Yeah, you know what? I think it comes from the title "Right Now," to be honest. There is a perception that if we are living in the past, we're regretting. If we live in the future, we're often anxious, right? Anxiety is the future, regret is the past. Right now is the only thing we actually have. And if you can come to a place before you get on that plane, or maybe while you're on the plane, where you can let the regrets go, where maybe you can even let the anxieties of the future go and get the most out of your time in Nashville, I think you'll get the most bang for your buck. That's the ethereal, more spiritual way, I guess, of answering that question. The other thing I would say is more practical, and that is go find out who the speakers are. Go to their LinkedIn page, become LinkedIn followers of theirs, and begin to create this friendship with them and this understanding of them before you even get there. And that'll give you context when you do get to the point where you're listening to them and hopefully living right now.
And Shannon, for you, what advice would you give to people getting the most out of this? Because they've shelled out money. They're spending on planes and hotels and tickets and everything else, and they're busy. It's time out, isn't it? What advice would you give them?
I mean, look, just like we as, exhibitors and speakers have to do is we stick to a schedule. We're very agenda driven, right? So when's breakfast, when's lunch, when's the reception, and where are those things? So I would say know your schedules way ahead of time. Have an agenda. Make a plan for your time, because time is valuable. You only have 72 hours to really, make an impact and get the most use of your investment. So just plan accordingly.
Yeah. That's great. A couple of final questions, fellas. John, those people that are sat on the fence, they're watching this, they've maybe penciled it into the calendar, but it's not got a red circle around it. They've not booked any tickets. Maybe they're waiting and seeing. What would be your message to them to say, hey, right now, get yourself there. You're not going to want to miss this.
Yeah, I think I've had that question asked, Rob, and I think the context is often there's so much stuff out there, I'm overwhelmed. Why would I inundate myself with a whole bunch more stuff? And that's a very, very important question. And I think it's a great question to ask. And I think my answer to this with Right Now is that there is an entire team of people for a year now who have been curating the content that comes here to keep it from being sporadic, to keep it from being whatever AI just pumped out. These are real humans with your firm in mind that have been curated very carefully so that you don't leave more confused, you leave with more clarity.
Yeah, that's great. And what would you say to people, Shannon, that are they've not made their minds up yet?
Look, this is my second year attending, and I will say that based on my experience of last year, I know it'll be very much this way this year. This is a very intimate show. So if you're looking to have a more intimate relationship with thought leaders, with other leaders in the industry, this is the place to do it. It's not like the Engage of the world, not the or the bigger the other works shows, right? It's not huge like that. It's small, intimate. You have a really intimate relationship with not only the speakers but as well the exhibitors, and I think it's a more valuable show to attend for that very reason.
Yeah. Guys, I'm going to ask you the last question in a minute, which is what excites you most about the future? Why is this a good time to be in accounting? But just before I do that, John, a quick question for you. How important is it that people actually take a little bit of time out of their business and take a breath to get away from things and have some thinking time and some strategic time and some downtime, whatever you want to call it, by getting out of the office and into a Right Now event?
Oh, I think it's pivotal. I think it's the only way forward for most firms right now is to take a deep breath and to reprioritize. If you don't, what's at stake is that you do what's most urgent, not what's most important. And that's really my answer.
Yeah, that's very good. It's got to be in the calendar. Right Now 2025 is coming up. It's in May. It's in Nashville. Shannon, last word from you. Why is this a good time to be in accounting? What excites you most about the future of this business?
Well, it's one of the coolest, innovative, changing industries, right? So when you talk about where you can see technological, what I'd say global view, it's no longer what I would say as a national career. It's an international career now. It's an exciting time to be in this industry because of mostly consolidation and innovation. Right?
And let's make sure you guys are on the right side of that. And attending Shannon's session with Sarah and Todd, you're going to get a lot from that one. John, final thoughts from you. What excites you most about the world we're working in right now, particularly with the accountant's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this sounds funny coming from somebody who is so driven by humans, but I think the thing that probably excites me most is the prospect of AI. I believe that
somebody had to mention it, right?
Yeah. And I honestly, I believe that now we've gotten away from some of the initial hype and we've got down to clarity. I think what I hope to do is bring some clear effort to AI in especially small accounting firms who can employ AI to do the things that robots can do so that we can elevate the humans to do the things that only humans can do, to bring more purpose, to bring more relationship, and to bring more real-time advice to real customers who have real needs. I honestly believe, tilted the right direction, AI is going to change things for the better when it comes to accounting firms and the humans in them.
Wow. Preach it, Pastor. Amen to that. Thank you so much, John Mitchell and Shannon Hay. We really appreciate you sharing your passion and your insights today. And we're really excited to see you doing your thing at Right Now 2025. Thank you.
Thanks so much.